Welcome to Dory Cote on Shamanism, a weekly podcast that explores one theme in shamanism throughout each month. Get comfortable, have a seat, and let's get started.
Hi, welcome to this week's podcast. This is the beginning of a new series that I've titled Feeding Your Hungry Soul. And this week we're going to talk a lot about what does it mean to have a hungry soul.
Dory, this is a delicious topic. Why did you choose it? And please tell us what you mean by feeding the hungry soul.
Thanks. Well, first of all, I want to say that I don't actually choose the topics. I think the listeners know this, but this would be a good time to remind everybody that what I do is I do a shamanic journey with one of my specific helping spirits and ask what should the topic be for this coming month. And she gives me the topic, and then she suggests the subtopics for each week. So I am able in that way to create the topic and then inquire about what kinds of questions people have about that topic. So I didn't choose the topic. My helping spirits chose the topic, but I agree with you that it is a very juicy topic. And what I believe is meant by my helping spirits when they talk about feeding the hungry soul is very simply that there is so much pressure on us as humans in these times, in modern day society. And it really doesn't matter what culture you come from. Even outside of the United States, everybody is being pressured with too much to do, too many places to be, too many things to care about, too many things to think about, too many worries, too many concerns and fears and anxieties. And so what I believe happens is that our soul, which is such an integral part of who we are, it isn't just some random aspect of us. It is an integral part of our everyday life. It plays a role in every breath we take, in every heartbeat that our heart delivers to our body. It's in our blood. It's in our bones. It is who we are. And so if we don't care for the soul part of ourselves in the same way that we care for our body and our mind and our emotional self, then our soul is hungry. It's seeking a way of being recognized and of being fed. And when it's not fed what it needs, then that can lead to a certain amount of discontent in the person in an overall kind of way. A discontent, a depression, more anxiety, more fear, and possibly even physical distress. And so feeding your soul what it needs is critical. And of course, we're going to talk about, well, how do you know what your soul needs? And, you know, there are some important places that a person needs to begin to understand, you know, what is the soul part of me and how do I know how to feed it?
So each person's soul has its own distinct hunger?
I believe so, yes, because we are all unique humans, right? We all have different ways of being. Our bodies are unique. Our minds are unique. The way we process information is unique. Our emotional realities are unique. And so, of course, each one of us has a soul that is in and of itself also unique. And so what my soul hungers for, what it needs to be content, to be fulfilled, to be juiced up, to be really fully present in all ways in my life, could very well be quite different from what you might have, Jill, or what some other listener might have. And so we have to really learn at the beginning, at the outset, what is it that my soul truly needs in order to feel at peace and to feel fed, to feel full, so that it no longer hungers, and as a result of that hunger ends up delivering discontent, disheartedness, broken sense of well-being, and all of those negative things that when they get churned up end up then doing the reverse, which is making the soul even more hungry. So when we don't feed our soul, we end up in a cycle of discontent and disheartedness.
How can a person identify what their personal soul is hungering for?
Aha, so there is the rub. That is where the work is. And it really comes down to each one of us as individuals paying attention to what makes me feel content. What makes me feel really happy? What makes me feel like I am fulfilling my destiny, or I am enjoying this life on earth? And so for each one of us, the answer to that is unique. For instance, I might feel completely content when I am teaching shamanism or doing something like this, recording a podcast. That feels very fulfilling to me. It feels like I am feeding my own soul by sharing myself, my insights, my information from my helping spirits. That feeds me. If I don't do this, then my soul hungers for this contact with community, this way of expressing what my soul feels. Other person might have a completely different kind of need in their soul. For instance, some person might feel the most content when they are creating a craft or some art form. You know, there are people in the world who love to knit. Their bliss, their contentness comes from working with needles, whether it's knitting or crocheting or maybe embroidering, and creating objects of beauty that are both functional as well as incredibly artistic, and gifting them to other people. That's their soul's hunger. And if they don't have the capacity to do that, then their soul is hungry, they feel discontented, and then that may lead to an emotional response, which can be depression, sadness, fear, anxiety, any of those things. So each person's soul is unique, and so how do you discover it? I suggest that the listener pay attention to, when do they feel the most content? What is it that they are able to do in their lives or participate in that allows them to feel like they are truly in alignment, body, mind, and soul, and feel content? For some people, like I said, each person's unique. For some people, the most content they might be is sitting on a rock overlooking moving water, and in that place they feel like they are really one with everything, and they feel immensely content, and their soul is being fed by the sound of the water, the rustling of the leaves, the scattering of the chipmunk in the pine needles, whatever the combination of all those things are, it comes together for them and it creates this moment, this sense of like being really filled up. That is what we're talking about when we say feeding your hungry soul. If you don't do those things that feed your hungry soul, then you are not caring for your soul in the same way that you'd care for your body, your mind, and your emotional self. It's really highly important that one do that.
I like that you touched on some of the hunger pains that the soul has to tell us that it's yearning and to be fed or nourished, because you talked about discontent and depression. Are there any other ways to know that some emotions are coming from a soul level hunger pain? And is it possible to identify and get that signal down to know before you start binging?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Before your soul starts truly binging on ice cream.
or other people.
Or other people, yes. I understand exactly what you mean. So it is a practice. What I suggest that people do is really pay attention to when they feel the most content and begin from there. And when they then begin to feel discontented and depressed, or like a general sense of malaise, or life doesn't matter anyway, why am I here, I'm so bored, I don't seem to have a purpose in my life, all of those kinds of like blah kind of feelings that we all are subject to have from time to time. When you begin to feel that, then that's a signal from your soul saying, yoo-hoo, I'm hungry, you haven't fed me for a while, it's time to pick up those knitting needles, or it's time to go sit on that rock over by the river and pay attention to the breeze and the rustling leaves and the sound of the water, or it's time to do a shamanic journey, or it's time to go for a hike, or it's time to exercise your creative self in the kitchen, or exercise your creative self with pen and ink or oil or clay, or it's time to dance, it's time to run, it's time to walk, it's time to whatever. So so really what I'm saying is that the starting point is to pay attention to when you feel the most content. And then when you begin to feel like you're on that slippery slope and you are no longer content, you're slipping into depression, anxiety, fear, a general malaise, like I don't really want to get out of bed today, life is really not worth living, all those kinds of negative thoughts, then go to that place and think, okay, what was it I was doing when I felt content? And that's what I need to do now in order to feed my soul so that I can move out of this place of despair, depression, sense of discontent.
This completes our prepared questions on the topic of what do you hunger for? Do you have anything else you'd like to add at this time?
Not at this time. Thank you for asking. I feel complete with this section. I'm looking forward to next week when we talk more about, finding your bliss. How do you find your bliss, and what does that mean anyway?
Thank you for listening to Dory Cote on Shamanism. We'd love to hear your thoughts, stories, reactions, and questions. Come on over to dorycote.com and join the conversation. And tune in next week for more on this subject, or next month for a new subject. You can subscribe to this podcast in iTunes or sign up on dorycote.com to receive notices when the podcasts are posted. That's Dory, D-O-R-Y, and Cote, C-O-T-E.com. Drumming and rattling by Dory Cote and Terry Morgan. Technical assistance and audio production by JillHackett.com. And this is Susan Savelle, wishing you many blessings in your life. We hope to have you join us next time.